Hello everybody. In today's video what we're going to be doing is we are going to be crafting some miniature tents to have for your tabletop game. So they're going to be nice easy terrain pieces, and I want to make them nice and simple. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out with a nice easy one first and hopefully get into some complexity, and as you can see bumping the camera there while trying to show off these. So what I'm going to do for the base structure of our first type of tents here. I'm going to build a few of them. I'm going to make a little scene at the end so you can see what these tents came out like. But what I am going to do is I'm going to use a playing card as the base rather than cutting up chipboard like you'd see, or polystyrene or cardboard or anything like that. I am coming in with just a regular playing card, as I think they're a great size to use for a few crafts, like if you want to use it as a temporary base for some terrain, or like what I'm going to be doing here is turning this into the base structure for a tent. But these cards here are of course very, very smooth, so I want to rough them up a little bit so I've got a little bit of texture to adhere some paper towels too. So just giving them a nice quick and easy rough up with some sandpaper so we can get that nice and easy texture, so we're not going to have anything slip off, because we're going to be gluing onto these cards. Now, only do this to cards if you don't ever want to use them again. These cards are, of course, going to be completely useless. So I brought an extra deck of cards, so I thought I can make some interesting and fun things with playing cards as using them as a base, because I think they're a good size, and you buy one pack of cards for basically nothing and you have a lot of good base cardboard to use, and I think that's a nice easy way to get a lot of use out of these. So what I'm doing is I'm just going in, finding the halfway point and just folding them in half, and that is going to be the very rigid base structure for our tent. So now we have that base of our card all roughed up and we have some texture. All I've done is I've cut up a bit of paper towel around, and I'm going to be applying some watered down PVA glue on here so we can get a nice soft stick. And what it's going to do, of course, is moisturize that towel, soak into that paper towel and harden it up to that playing card. So this is why we want to rough up the playing card, because if we're applying PVA glue straight onto a regular paper card, it's going to be just so like smooth and glossy. So having that is going to make it so it's going to adhere there nice and easily. And as you can see, I've sort of pre-measured this. What I want to do is I want to completely envelop that card in the paper towel so we can get that good adherence onto it, and we have the perfect size. So that's one thing I wanted to use with these playing cards, is I felt they were just the perfect size for making these quick and easy tents. This here is going to be the first one. I'm going to do 3 of these styles of tents, and this one here is your first slapdash quick and easy. You could whip these up. Honestly, you could whip up a bunch of them in a couple of hours, like no time at all. The longest thing is to just wait for this glue to dry. I just wanted to come up with the fastest way I could think of to do this. Now, if you didn't want to use playing cards, you don't have any extra playing cards around, a piece of cardboard there from a cereal box or any sort of cardboard is going to do here. But I just felt that the playing card was the great and perfect size and everything I needed, and would be great for future use because you have so many of them available in a deck of cards. So I wasn't using these, I brought these specially. I hopefully want to do some more crafting projects with some playing cards later on, as I think they're a great side and could be well used into the crafting sort of space here, as one thing people don't usually think about, and it's a lot of cheap and easy cardboard for doing little crafts and projects, and they're really nice and pre-cut. But as you can see, it's just a matter of going around and giving everything a good coating overall. And because we already have that folded pre-cut into it, we don't have to worry about getting it stuck to each other as we're trying to fold it perfectly, as you can see there. But as well as that too, I've also just let my paper towel just hang slightly over the edge, so it's got a nice flap on either side. I'll add that as a little bit of style to the tent itself and make it a little bit of decoration, but it's also going to give us that nice base because that will also harden because it's got the glue on there. So it's a nice easy base, so it's not going to spread out or tip over or fall or anything like that, just to add that little bit of stability. So nice little add on there to just strengthen the piece up. So while we have that drying, we're going to move on to our next one. So for our next one here, I'm going to be a little bit more in depth with it because it's going to be a little bit more involved. So what I've done is I've brought some barbecue skewers, and these are going to be our wooden frames for our tent framing there. So nice and easy, and I'm not even going to bother about measuring. I'm just going to cut to where I think it looks good on a miniature. So I've grabbed here a player character miniature. This is Elf Ranger. And I think it's just a great overall size miniature. So all you want to do is grab what commonly you would use as a player character mini, size it up roughly around that, and I want to make it so it looks like it could reasonably fit within a character going into this tent and sleeping there in the night. So all I'm doing is coming in, sawing our pieces, and this is going to be the A-frame arch at each end of the tent there. So nice and easy, and we just want to cut out the sizes and get that into a nice V shape. So now I have those nice A-frames on there, and this is one here I did with some hot glue, and I'm not a very good hot gluer, and I just found, all the stringy wispy bits there. I couldn't line it up in time. I couldn't combine it all together. So instead what I decided to do was lay it on the ground with just some regular PVA glue and wood glue, stick them together, use a bit of Mod Podge as well, to attach these pieces on here. But what I want to do is I made one just slightly bigger, and I've cut out these end of the barbecue skewers with the nice pointy bits on the end, and I want to place them on each one of those aim frames, as you can see me demonstrating here. And this is to give me a wider tent, and this will give us a different style, and this is going to be our third one here. So I'm going to make two of the regular like A-frame tent, your sort of typical tent that you think of when you imagine a tent, and then this one here I want to turn into a fancier one. So I just made it just a little bit bigger, and I'm adding these parts on the side here by placing them in, but also having them braced onto that nice A-frame joint there in the middle, so I can have that stability of each end. And you'll see what I mean as we flesh this one out a little bit more, how it's going to look different. Maybe a little bit hard to see with what I'm trying to go with here, but stick with me if you want to go with a different style of tent. I just want to give you guys some options. I was coming up with it as I was putting the others together, and I just wanted to think of a different style that I could do for a tent. I want to make this sort of like the big fancy tent, if you will. So just coming in, gluing those on, and waiting for it to dry. Okay, so now we have all of our frames all glued up and dried, and now we can do some painting with them. This is a totally option step. If you're going for speed, I would just cut this part out, as the barbecue skewers are already wood. But what I'm going to do here is go with some paint and give this a good overwash. For this, I'm actually using a contrast paint. I'd probably recommend not doing this, as contrast paint is quite expensive and you don't really want to waste too much expensive paint on some really quick and simple crafts here. I mean, you totally can if you want to. The reason why I used it is I wanted nice speed, because I was thinking about actually staining the wood with a type of wood stain. I couldn't find my wood stain I have on me at the time, so I just grabbed the bottle of speed paint because I wanted to get this done as quick as possible for you guys. And if I'd gone with paint, regular paint, it would take me a bit longer to do, so that contrast paint is immediately going to soak up into the wood. Another reason too why you don't want to use a lot of contrast paint, because you actually use a lot of this, as the wood will just happily soak that up and go through a little bit more contrast paint than you want to. So totally up to you here whether you want to paint them or not, and recommend probably not using contrast paint to do it. Okay, so we're coming to the part where we want to place our sort of canvas over the tents here. So as you can see, I'm grabbing paper towels. I've got it mixed in with some PVA glue and water, and I want to drape these over. What I've done is I've sort of cut these pieces here, and you see I'm super concentrating trying to get these on. One thing I did that you guys probably don't want to do is I think I watered my PVA glue down just a little too much, and they were just too wet to work with. So what I would recommend is probably like a 40% water mixture to 60% glue rather than me. I think I was more the opposite way around. I think I was 60% water with like 40% glue. I think it was just too wet, so I was having problems with it. Drying time, especially, I had a really long drying time on these. As well as that, too, I was also finding it very hard and fiddly to get them to line up where I wanted to because the paper towel had become so wet that it was starting to, rip and tear because I'd put just a lot of water in this. So, one tip for me and you guys there to try and not suffer the pain that I went through while doing this. As you can see me trying to line it up and get it all stuck together, as I was just having quite a few problems with it, trying to get it to stick together. And you can see me talking to myself. I'm actually talking to the camera, and you couldn't really hear it while I'm trying to do what I'm doing here. I'm concentrating, talking, and getting all flustered and angry with it. So I decided to do the voiceover. I thought that was a simpler way, but now it makes me look like a crazy madman. But anyway, we just want to come in and place those paper towels into the areas until you're happy with it, but making sure that you get all over the whole thing done with the coverage there, making sure that I get the front and backs done as well as the top over the piece. As well as that too, also that bigger one, making sure that I've got the right size pieces to cover over each one of those edges as well. Okay, so now we have all of that completely dried. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with some sort of typical tent colors here. For me, I'm using like a tannish color and a olive green color, and I'm just going around and I'm just going to be painting them up, as you can see me here, giving them a good overall. But one thing I am doing is I am watering down the paints. Now, just like my step before where I said I was using contrast paint and painting over the wood, as you can see here, I'm using miniature paint here. Now, this is up to you, but again, this miniature paint is reasonably expensive and you don't get a lot of it, so I'd recommend just using some nice cheap old dollar store craft paint for this, because we're not worrying about it being too fancy here. We want these for quick on the tabletop gaming, for when you've got, a gaming session coming up and you want to get on the table as fast as you can. So I would say that just doing that is a lot better for your wallet, I think. So now it's just a matter of up to you what you want to do in terms of color. I'm just going to go with one simple color here. As I've mixed it with some water, it's going to give it a little bit of variation, as well as we've already got that texture on our, what paper towel there. That's what I was thinking of. Paper towel already has a texture, so applying this over it is going to give me variations in color, and mixing it with the water is going to give me slightly different variations as well. But if you wanted to take this up to an even further level, I'd recommend having a sort of darker base color, then giving a little bit of a dry brush over it. Now, because in my previous step I'd added too much water, I don't think it has stiffened up as much as I wanted to, and I had to try and get this video out on time, so I didn't want to spend an extra day waiting, applying another layer of our Mod Podge or PVA glue on it and waiting for it to dry. So I needed to do it with sort of one quick layer. But I'd recommend, if you've got the time and you've got the correct ratio of water to glue on your method when applying the paper towels over it, you'll have a lot stiffer and stronger piece, because the my ones are just a little too flimsy, and I didn't want to do any dry brushing over it. So that's probably a better for you thing, that you'll probably have a nice, stronger, and more resilient one than I have. So you'll be able to easily come in and dry brush over the top of it, giving it that little bit extra dimensionality. But for me, I'm just going with one straight, simple layer here. So once you have your painting done, whether you've done one quick layer like me or you've gone with a little bit fancier paint job than I have here, what I've gotten left over on the edge, because I cut them just a little bit extra size, because I didn't want to make sure that I could actually have each one of these pieces comfortably fit on the bottom, is I got like a little bit of like flashing on the edge. So just a matter of coming in here with a pair of scissors, nothing too fancy here needed to be done, and just going in and cutting along each one of these edges. And as you can see, we're having that little bit more time waiting for the paint to dry, as well as our PVA glue. They've hardened up a decent amount now, but definitely you will have probably a lot harder ones. Some of them still a little bit soft in some areas, but for me, I also want to add in just a little slit here as well, and just bend them nice and easily, a little front and back, so you can see that you can easily go into it. And this is why I painted the underside as well. Now, if you don't want to do that and just have them completely closed up, that's probably even easier, because you do not have to paint the underside as well. I'd probably recommend doing it just to make it look a little bit more fancy and flash, and giving you something a little bit extra to do. It's a little bit hard to get in there with your paintbrush, but I think it looks a little bit better if you do put that little slit in the end there and have those flaps open up, and then you can easily see in there that it's all painted up like the underside of this one here. Just got that little extra bit of realism, I guess, here, but totally up to you. If you don't want to go with the nice fully covered look, save yourself some time. They're still going to look great on the table. But I will say one thing with our bigger one is you just want to be careful when you're cutting out along the edge here, because you've got that nice big wide space. So just being careful with that one as you're going along, as it can be quite easy to accidentally cut out uneven shape. So that's why I just went in with a ton of extra coverage, so I had that nice easy to cut area there and not worry about that too much. So just a little tip there, that you can see that I sort of break just a little bit by having that little bit of curve. So the easiest way I can recommend to stop that from happening is to just keep testing it on the ground every so often. Now we have that complete, I want to come in with one last step here, and these here are matchsticks that I've also painted up in the exact same way we painted up the frames, and I've just gone in and cut them to the height I need for our tent here. So what I'm going to do, these two front ones you can see here, there's ones that are just basically straight triangles. These are of course the ones that we painted up with our playing cards, and to add in that little bit of realism and tentiness to the piece to make them look more like a tent, as I've gone in here with just a matchstick, and I'm going to be placing it in the middle here with some hot glue to just quickly fasten it to the top, so we don't have to wait around for PVA glue to dry. And you can see, nice, simple and effective, and then you immediately have the poles for holding the tent up, and you can clearly see what's holding up. Now with these ones here, you can't do the flaps like I can in the other one, but I think these are really great and really nice and easy to do, and they're super fast to make. Like, you could whip up like 10 of these in a couple of hours, no problem. I think they're the best overall for my liking, for ease of use and how effective they look, for how simple they are to make. They're probably a little bit better for your time than building up the other ones that I did here, but the other ones of course look just a little bit more like rugged, and a little bit, if you gave them a bit better paint job than I did here, you could probably make them look a little more realistic and gritty to your setting, and they have that like more tangible size, because I compared them to the actual size of a miniature, so it looks like they could comfortably sit in that. But these ones here look maybe a little off, but I don't think enough to really worry about. They just look great on the tabletop, but they're probably just, like, I guess, a little too manufactured, because the card has no give in it, whereas the other ones have nice little folds and wrinkles over them, just have that more livelier appearance. And then with our big, large one that we did here, I actually cut the flaps in the middle, essentially, for the tent flap here, so it folds upwards, and I'm placing two extra little beams on the edge here, so it's got the nice big fold out piece here. I got this idea basically from the Khajiit caravans you see in Skyrim. They have tents very similar to this, That was what I'm sort of trying to mimic here, and this was going to be my big flash tent. But with all that out of the way, we can see how these things look on the tabletop. And there you have it. There is how to make 3 different quick and easy tents for your tabletop games when you're playing your RPGs. So I hope this has been helpful for you guys. And I think these things look great for the amount of time we spent in them. I mean, I spent 2 days doing this only because I had to wait basically a day for the drying time. But those ones that are made out of the playing cards, those things were done within a couple of hours because there was very little amount of glue on there to dry for those ones. So those are your definite best bang for your buck. I think they also look really great on the table. I just added a couple of little rocks there on the side to make it look like they've placed these nice big heavy stones on there to hold down the edges of the tent, just to add that little bit of extra flavor on the whole piece. So I hope this video has been helpful for you guys. If you want to make these tents here, or just want to use the video as some inspiration in doing your own tabletop crafting. So with all that, guys, I'd like to thank you all for watching, and I can't wait to see you all in the next video.